Again, thank you for joining us on this June 28th, 2012 transmission. A very sad day. The Supreme Court traitorously sided with Obama to say that they can take our money as a tax and redistribute it to offshore banks and corporations that want to create a monopoly and to illegal aliens as a domestic army against the Republic. This is sedition against the Republic. Unbelievable. And it's covered in the film by Joel Gilbert, award-winning documentary filmmaker, Dreams from My Real Father, a story of Reds and deception. My dad, who I respect a lot, smart guy, a physician, that day he heard the show, he came over and he said, I want a copy of that from our warehouse. And I said, here. And he said, I'm going to go, I mean, the interview sounded interesting, but I'm going to go watch this. I called him a few days later because we had him on last week. I finally called him this morning. I said, what'd you think? And he said, in fact, I wrote it down here, chillingly convincing. And my dad said it was horrifying to know how this guy has been manufactured. And my father follows the news, like many people, and he's noticed it's coming out that his dad wasn't tortured, the fake one in Kenya, by the British. They now admit that's a fraud, and his name really was Barry Soetoro, and he really was in a mosque. He really did give up his citizenship in Indonesia. But that it was all another cover story, that the State Department had thrown out his Kenyan dad, said that he wasn't his dad, looks nothing like him. And then you look at all the new information that it turns out a couple of other investigative journalists pointed out years ago. Our guest, Joel Gilbert, discovered it on his own research, but that happens a lot with great findings, is that separate researchers come to the same point. And you see this film, Dreams from My Real Father, and we're going to get an update right now, and it is just unbelievable that this guy is an admitted pornographer. His father, the evidence is overwhelming, Frank Marshall Davis, an admitted communist, that Obama quotes his speeches word for word in his writings, that Obama's grandfather, and this is in the book Obama wrote, would go and visit weekly with this guy when his mother was out of the country, and that there was some weird unspoken thing between his grandfather and him. Well, yeah, it's his daddy. And he talks about him 20-something times in his book, and it goes on and on. And then his mother, clearly his mother in these porno photos with Mr. Davis coming out in his collection, and then there's Davis on the couch that she's on in the porno photos. It's mind-blowing. It goes on and on from there. But I want to talk about the fact that this film's starting to get attention despite corporate media blackout. By the way, it's available at InfoWarsShop.com. We have it if you want it, and you get a free Citizen Rulebook with it, and it supports our work, but also his work. InfoWarsShop.com. But I'm telling you, that's why I get so excited about this. This is coffin nails to these people. This is dynamite information. Talks like him, looks like him, hung out with him. The other guy's not his dad. State Department said that. Obama's got dead people's Social Security numbers. I'm going to shut up now. The point is they're sealing his records for a reason. The Kenya thing is a cover story. Incredible. Joel Gilbert, thank you so much for joining us today. There's a reason they never give us the real birth certificate. You've got the floor. Recap your discovery, where all this has gone, the response you're seeing here today with your remarkable film.
Thank you, Alex. Great to be back with you. Let me start by showing you a couple of things, and that in light of the healthcare ruling today, I want to show you this article. This was written by Frank Marshall Davis, Obama's real father. There he is. And he wrote this article in the Honolulu Record, Socialized Medicine Preferred. He also wrote an article for them called How to Become a Communist. And Obama bamboozled gullible middle-class America with a laughable illusion that he was the son of a Kenyan goat herder who stood above politics so he could bring people together. He sold himself as the multicultural ideal. So Barack Obama was perceived as a nice man with an inspiring family story. This film proves that Obama intentionally hid a deeply disturbing family background and a Marxist political foundation in order to get elected. The national health care for socialists and communists is simply a socialist tool to eliminate the upper and middle classes by transferring wealth. That's why poor quality, long waits, and higher taxes don't matter to them. They want to give away the middle class's health care to the poor and illegals. They want to tax and regulate middle class employers out of business. And they get to the point where the middle class retirement will evaporate into a bankrupt socialist state. And we'll just have one lower class of an impoverished society with the political elites that control the wealth. And Obama is planning that by the end of his next term, America will be irreversibly socialist without ever realizing how it happened. In the book, Dreams from My Father, that Obama wrote, has been discredited at every turn. He spends 2,500 words on Frank Marshall Davis, the only person that he names by his real name, and the only person that transcends 4 decades and 4 continents, from the beginning of his life all the way, even after Davis died, he talks about Davis. This is my DVD, which I know you're selling on Infowars.com, Dreams from My Real Father. This illustrates Obama's entire life in socialism. It explains how he arrived at Occidental College at age 18 as a committed revolutionary Marxist, and how Davis indoctrinated him during his formative years, after his mother brought him back from Indonesia. The film illustrates how the Kenyan Obama was simply a cover story that covered up an illicit affair. And we've discovered, as you've mentioned, 30 photos that Frank Marshall Davis took of Obama's mother, Ann Dunham, that shows that there was an intimate relationship.
And by the way, it's admitted. He later came out and admitted he was a secret pornographer, publishing under pseudonyms, did these Betty Page deals. These are his. It's a dead ringer for Obama's mother with this other woman on his couch that he does in all these interviews that you have film of and photos. I mean, it's just, you've got him. I'm sorry. It's just unbelievable.
Not only that, because I did so much investigation, I've got continuing information still coming out as breaking news. I've got letters that Davis wrote in his own handwriting. They're being published next Monday by the WorldNet Daily. By the way, they had a wonderful Happy Father's Day. They wished last week to Frank Marshall Davis right there.
Who's doing that, Corsi or Farah? Because I want to get both of them on with you.
Corsi will be writing about these letters where Davis writes in his own handwriting. He says that he was the author of Sex Rebel Black, that it was all true. It was an autobiography. He also has many more nefarious things he writes that I'll wait. You can check WorldNet Daily next Monday. It's going to be out, and you can see the whole story. The point, though, is that Obama has a very dark background. His father was 25, 30 years under FBI surveillance. He was alleged to be a Soviet spy, and this was possibly real because Communist Party USA had many spies, including those that stole U.S. nuclear atomic secrets and gave them to the Russians, helping to ignite the Cold War. Davis was a propagandist and an ideologue. And in today's ruling, really every day, anything Obama says or does, you can see his infatuation with this failed ideology. Socialism failed in Russia. It failed in Europe. It's failing all over the world. But they don't think that maybe there's something wrong with the system. They think it's the wrong person. The right person has to implement this deadly Marxist agenda and eliminate all the upper and middle classes. This film shows his entire life in socialism, and I urge everyone to go to Infowars.com and please buy a copy of the DVD.
Very well said. There's a lot of other facets to this that we didn't cover because I've since watched the film a second time.
Okay.
I mean, really, people need to get a copy at InfoWarsShop.com, but more importantly, just walk through what they're going to see. Give people a boil down of the film and why it's so important.
Well, it's going to start by showing Obama's early family history, and you can just take a checklist of everything in Obama's book and everything in my film. You can start with his early family history, and it's obvious from the facts, from the proven facts, that Obama's story that his father went to Harvard when he was 2 years old and it broke up the family is false. There never was an Obama family, ever. There's no evidence his parents even met in the 60s. So my film shows an intimate relationship between Davis and Dunham and then a lifelong nurturing of Obama by Davis throughout his teenage years. Then Obama arrives at Occidental College, goes to all the Marxist meetings with the Marxist professors. He goes to New York City, just like in his book, but he has all benevolent things going on. We show the reality. He attended socialist scholars conferences. Only committed Marxists went to these conferences. I believe we have evidence he was involved in something called the May 19 Communist Organization, which was an above-ground front group for the old Weather Underground. We've got him involved in that, whereas he doesn't even say where he was or what he did during those years at Columbia. It's like a missing time. He says he was in the library, but we think otherwise. He goes to Chicago, and we've given evidence it was with the help of Bill Ayers' father, Thomas Ayers, that got him a grant. And Obama follows in his real father's footsteps in reverse. Davis went from Chicago to Hawaii to organize. He was sent by the Communist Party to help orchestrate a takeover of the island on the orders of the Kremlin through Communist Party USA, because they wanted to get rid of U.S. forces in Hawaii, which were an obstacle to Soviet expansion in Asia. So Obama follows in his father's footsteps in reverse. He goes from Hawaii to Chicago to organize, and he's got his network, his father's network there, the Jarrett family, Valerie Jarrett's father, Vernon Jarrett, Bill Ayers' father.
That's why all these incredible elitist terrorist weathermen bring him in like a prince. I mean, the entire time. But again, then you've got the CIA connections in the family. Some researchers think that they were like deep cover infiltrating the communists, but then you've got the pornographers and all this. Bottom line, Obama is totally blackmailed by this information.
There's no question. I think it's very dangerous when the President of the United States has such secrets. He can easily be blackmailed. People don't talk about it much, but I've talked to people in the intelligence community who all agree that it was too much of a coincidence that Bill Clinton's talking to Monica Lewinsky on a cell phone, and all of a sudden China got most favored nation status when the Chinese embassy has the ability to pick up phone calls all over the city. So anything could happen when this secret, if I can figure it out, don't think that Putin hasn't figured it out. There was that call we talked about, that discussion last time when Obama leaned over to Medvedev and said, "I'll be more flexible after the election." And Medvedev said, "I'll tell Vladimir." Now that make your skin crawl if you know what you know after you see this DVD. So you'll see Obama rise using through Acorn. I call him Acorn's front man in Chicagoland. That's who Obama was. He helped lay the foundation for the subprime mortgage crisis when he represented Acorn suing Citibank. He sued for the motor voter law, which the 9/11 hijackers got to vote under and got all their ID. It shows his history with Bill Ayers on these foundations, funneling the foundation money back to Jeremiah Wright and back to Ayers. It's an entire life history in corruption and socialism. If Obama had not been elected president, he would be just another Chicago politician swimming in a cesspool of corruption. And he brought that cesspool to Washington, D.C., along with David Axelrod, who he met through Bill Ayers' father, Thomas Ayers. Axelrod was a lobbyist for Commonwealth Edison. So I've put together all the pieces that everybody feels is pretty strange into a cohesive story where you can understand where he came from and why he does these things and why he associates with these people and why he aspires to a Marxist socialist worldview, because he is pursuing the dreams from his real father.
If you were talking to the American people, say on Nightline right now, to 5, 6, 7 million people, I mean, here you're talking to over 1 million in the aggregate, that if you were talking to just Joe Schmo, or let's say you were given 5 minutes on Jay Leno's show, or let's say you were given 10 minutes at the Super Bowl, what would you impart to them about this? Because they're going to say, hey, communism's dead. It's, sure, China's communist, and sure, they're putting the Red Stars back on the tanks in Russia, and sure, we've got socialist health care, and sure, Obama hangs out with the weatherman, and sure, again, people, hear this stuff about communists. The media told them this doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I would say that all of this discussion that we've heard over the past few years about where Obama was born, all these little things, was just subterfuge that was orchestrated by Obama to hide this deeply dark history and who he is and where he came from and who indoctrinated him. And he was indoctrinated by Frank Marshall Davis, a committed, lifelong communist and Marxist. All you have to do to understand Obama is to ask first the question, instead of where's the birth certificate, the question is who's the real father? And then once you see who the real father is, he's got an endless amount of his policies, all of his life history. He was for wealth redistribution. He tried to condemn America as an imperialist, warlike country that should withdraw all its influence from all over the world and shrink back into an isolationist mode with one class of impoverished people. This was the communist ideal, and this is what people should understand, that these socialists, they don't compare America to the rest of the world. They compare America to a socialist utopia. So for these socialists, America is hell, and they always feel they have to change it radically to achieve the socialist utopia. But we've seen again and again in history, just take East Germany and West Germany after the war. East Germany adopted National Socialism and communism, and West Germany had a free market. Now, 50 years later, we have a vibrant, wealthy West Germany, and we had an impoverished East Germany, the same thing North and South Korea. So what's most disturbing is it's a failed ideology. It's failing even in its middle level incarnation in Europe, and all these European entitlement societies, they're failing. Obama is casting us in this direction of failed socialism instead of the free markets which built the wealth and greatness of this country that helped preserve the peace and bailed out the rest of the world so many times. So I would tell everybody on Nightline, go to InfoWarsShop.com and buy the DVD.
Well, exactly. I mean, I was just wondering what you would say to just the average person. But again, I want to go one level deeper here with you. Look at how stocks are up for healthcare right now. Some would say, well, they've gotten their answer, that now things are stabilized. They know which way things are going. But select big mega corporations, none dare call it conspiracy, from the 70s breaks this down, a book we carry, that there is a certain group of rich elitists that want to fund socialism and communism because they think they're going to control the state. They're going to be offshore. They're going to use it to get corporate welfare. And so that's where you have the communists in people who are really almost like they're operatives to go out and take over society. And then, of course, they always wreck things. Then they always put these corrupt fat cat oligarchs in charge over it. And I think that's where you finally can short circuit the so-called left, is showing them these facts and explaining to them that it is the mega rich elite of a small group of them that are monopoly men. Carol Quigley wrote about this at Georgetown, with the communist and socialist forces that are actually waging war against the other corporations, businesses, middle-class families, the engines of entrepreneurial wealth that we know are the engine of everything good. I mean, communism is a nightmare hell. Their argument is once we exterminate any freedom, then we'll have a utopia. I mean, these people are just demons. I mean, I'm ranting there about this economic theorem, but from my research, that's the way the world really works, is the Maurice Strongs and the David Rockefellers who are robber barons and who want to use communism as the vehicle to destroy their competition.
Well, those two forces will eventually collide because their interests will collide. In the meantime, these socialists and communists use crony capitalism to further their endeavors by making all these promises along the way. But I think just like the middle class are pawns and they will be discarded, these oligarchs and the Rockefellers will probably be discarded as well.
Okay, I got to stop you. That is an incredibly astute answer. That would have been my answer. I've known no one else that would have that answer. I'm not trying to say I've got all the things. Look, I'm impressed, but I mean, I personally am impressed from my research. That is exactly right from history. We've seen similar things like this before. The elite doing this are going to destroy themselves. And plus, they're making a giant dependent group of people. I mean, this is a nightmare. This is you couldn't screw up humanity worse than what they're doing.
Well, I think the only way we can stop this is if we get this film to everybody in the country. Because you asked me what would I tell people in a minute or two. the issues, the reason that's hard to do is because, number one, Obama spent 20 years building up this false background, going on these trips to Kenya, writing in his book. He spends, 200 pages about his going to Kenya. And
that's why his publicist says it for 16 years, and it's so. And we're like, look, the proof is your wife says you went back to your homeland, but that was the cover. They ridiculously say we're lying about what's admitted fact, but that fact is a fraud they put out.
Right. So they've been Obama is the king of misdirection. He misdirects people to look in the wrong place. Once I realized that the most likely father was Frank Marshall Davis, and that the Obama Kenyan story was nothing but a cover-up for illicit affair, it wasn't that hard. I found all the pictures, all the video, all the writings of Davis, and it wasn't that difficult. But he used misdirection, and on top of the misdirection, you have the fact that his election was not a sudden political phenomenon. It was the culmination of an American socialist movement that has been penetrating quietly the economy, universities, and the media for decades. I can't even get this film on any of the major networks, and even Newsmax, which we for years, and I advertised my films on Newsmax before, including Atomic Jihad, Ahmadinejad's Coming War, and Obama's Politics of Defeat. Newsmax, I paid them money, and they called me in the morning for my banner campaign and said, it's been pulled. We've canceled your banner ad for Dreams from My Real Father. I said, why? They said, well, we want to move more to the center. We don't want to offend anybody. So even the conservative news outlets are being seduced by this need to capitulate to this leftist agenda and censor.
Joel, it's worse than that. You've hit the zeitgeist. You've hit Count Dracula right in the heart with a big stake, and they don't want you to drive it all the way through. This is dangerous, buddy. I mean, tell you, people who haven't seen the film, they don't know what we're talking about. In fact, guys, can we roll while people are watching just his trailer without audio? That's what we did on the radio show. People also watch on the web. And people have got to go to InfoWarsShop.com. Right there, it's the newest product up there. You can see the trailer right there. But we'll roll the trailer in the background while you're talking. I mean, look, it's his mother bent over his couch with another woman. He's admitted pornographer. All this stuff. It's his voice. It's his face. It's his teeth. It's his daddy. In his own book, he writes about him more than anybody, more than his mommy. I mean, this is who he's talking about in Dreams of His Father, because it's really an ode to his communist father. And everything he's doing is for, I mean, it is crystal clear. That's why he goes to Chicago and is suddenly the darling of the ruling communist. Yeah, I mean, he is royalty. He is the royal princeling, because these communists are all about sneaking around and infiltrating. They know they're hated. They know they're scum. They know no one wants them, so they take over the universities, banking, media, everywhere, infesting everything. I mean, that's why they don't want your film out there, because it will destroy them.
Well, Obama, once you see this film, you'll realize that Obama is his father's son, and his father is Frank Marshall Davis, a bitter, angry, lifelong communist. And they, since the 1980s, when Obama was going to these socialist scholars conferences, their strategy was to use code words like problem solving and fair play and push the Democratic Party to the far left. That was their strategy. 20, 30 years later, Obama working in that system, Project Vote, Acorn, all those different organizations that he helped build and promote, they succeeded in turning the Democrats into the Democratic Socialist Party, with an entire media culture protecting them from learning the truth. This film puts the truth all together, I believe, in the common sense of America, especially middle America. And the more this film gets out there, I think the more chance there is that we can turn around this deadly Marxist agenda that Obama has brought to the United States, to the White House, through the dreams from his real father, which is none other than Frank Marshall Davis.
Listen, the film is $14.95 at Infowars.com. You can get it with a free citizen rule book, InfoWarsShop.com. They can also get it from other great places out there like your website. We'll give that out in a moment. But all of that aside, all of that aside, I have put out films like The Obama Deception, seen more than 40 million times online. I have put out other films. I have reached, in the last 3 years conservatively, 600 million people on YouTube alone. I mean, I can go through all the pages, all the sites. One of my 8 YouTube sites has, 220 million views. I'm going to tell you right now, obviously, at the price you've got it, the deal you gave us, so we can be competitive with it, you're not in this for money. But I understand there's the strategy of, hey, we invested a lot, we flew all over the place, did this, we got to get our money back. I would tell you now, though, with the media ignoring you, before they put the kill switch in and everything, I would suggest, I'll say this live on air right now, we can talk about it when you get off air, but I'm going to say it in front of God and everybody else, that you may be Dr. Corsi yourself, whoever, I don't care if you did it with WorldNet Daily by yourself, whatever, I just know how to launch this. Get here like a PBS show, where they sit there and show the film and then say, you're watching this film, if you want to support us, get it here. That's the model to go with. Do a production where you stop throughout it, say, get the DVD, because I never did this on purpose. I discovered this just because I wanted to get the word out. And so I put my films out for free, and then that's what made them big anyways, and ended up selling more. And I was like, wow, I did the right thing, and it actually lets me fund building this whole operation. Well, I'm telling you, I'm consulting live here on air.
Okay.
I would put a date out. In fact, it'll scare them so bad they'll come after you probably. I'd say, because you don't want to wait, I'd say 2 weeks from now. You're going to present the film and new findings, put it on a big YouTube channel. I mean, I've got not just mine, but I've got a couple others that are, big, that don't even have my name on it. I don't even care about my naming on it. And then have the announcement throughout the film. If you support this info, call here and, get the DVD. You'd sell 10 times as many. But more importantly, it would get seen probably 10 million times. So you can sit there and send out a few 10,000 copies, have a little effect, a few, groups show it. Or you can hit this New World Order square in the eye with double lock bucket, point blank range, double barrel. I would use YouTube, their own globalist tool now, to annihilate them. And they'll try stuff. They'll try all sorts of stuff to try to block it. But I'm telling you, I'm ranting. I'm telling you, execute that, Joel.
Let me tell you something. Don't think that I haven't thought a long time about how to make sure that this gets delivered to Middle America, not only through selling it through your site and through other outlets, but we have a very, very unique program that you've never heard of. It's not YouTube, and it's already being implemented. And we're going to announce it probably on your show in about a week from now. And it will blow you away, and it will blow away the media blockout on this film and force them to cover it. It's not film screenings. And it's not YouTube, but I'm going to announce it on this show.
Wait a minute. Let me guess. You're going to put these in newspapers free.
Nope.
So people have done that.
No, we're gonna tell you next week, and you'll be amazed.
Well, I'm excited. I mean, listen. Again, I was like, really? He's the son of some famous communist? I knew who Frank Marshall Davis was. I'm like, I knew he was in his book. I read it. I'm like, really, really? And then I watched it. I'm like, oh my gosh! It's just like my brain goes bing. That's it. I mean, my dad's like, okay, I'm gonna go watch this. He's like, oh my God, this is conclusive. I mean, you watch this, and then he's being blackmailed. People are like, well, so what if his dad's a commie? The point is, he's totally compromised.
Right. He's what we call a red diaper baby. A red diaper baby is the child of a Communist Party USA member.
Red doper diaper baby.
That's right. I've heard that from you. The red doper diaper babies are the guys that were the head of the Weather Underground, Jeff Jones, Catherine Boudin, all these people that were nuts, ended up in jail with weapons charges. Even David Axelrod is a red diaper.
Okay, your Skype cut out right there. Start over with Axelrod.
Okay. David Axelrod is a red diaper baby. His mother was a communist journalist, just like Obama, and she wrote for PM newspaper in New York City. So we have in the White House a red diaper baby, the child of a Communist Party USA member. Obama's biological father was Davis. That means he lied and bamboozled the country, and that he's a forger of documents as well as a liar. He was indoctrinated by Davis in his formative years. So his ideological father, biology is dangerous enough given the red diaper DNA, but that's his ideological father. Davis indoctrinated him with an anti-white worldview. Obama writes about it in his own book. I'd encourage people, after they watch Dreams from My Real Father, if you go back and read Dreams from My Father, Obama drops a tremendous number of breadcrumbs. He talks about going to Frank Marshall Davis's house with his grandfather, and he says there was some unspoken contract between the two of them. He talks about Davis in glowing terms. He talks about how he doesn't want to tell people that his mother is white. He's an admirer of Malcolm X. On and on. It's clear that Obama is the ideological and biological son of Frank Marshall Davis, a red diaper baby in the White House. No one could have imagined this, and it never could have happened without this cover-up that there was a Kenyan goat herder.
Oh, my God. The rule of the red diaper president.
That's what's going on.
Oh, my God. Well, look, I look forward to getting you back on the radio with these updates next week. Just stay in touch. The film is Bombshell. Joel Gilbert's Dreams of My Real Father, available at InfoWarsShop.com, and it's also on your site. Give folks that.
Yeah, you can see the trailer, read all the press. DVD is there as well. It's obamasrealfather.com.
All right. Well, Joel Gilbert, thank you so much for spending time with us. We're going to go to break and come back with our next interview with Dr. Joel Wallach, talking about the socialist, globalist healthcare takeover. My God, this is a bad day. But truth striking back, folks. This is not a game. We're not just fighting against some out-of-control people that are, mean well, but are idiots. These are dangerous people. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
All right.
Once you see my film, you'll agree with Alex's dad that it's literally a horror movie, what's happening with the socialists in power.
I mean, let me tell you, he was blown away. All right, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.